All right, guys. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So, we don't need to waste much time. Okay, don't need to waste much time. So today's class is I'm going to give us an introduction to pipeline. Introduction to Jenkins pipeline. So get to see firsthand what a Jenkins pipeline is. All right. So pipeline, I won't say pipeline. Pipeline, what is a pipeline? Let me bring this. Hello? Can anybody hear me? Can
Yeah, I
anyone?
can hear you.
All right. Let me talk about check your connection. Check your connection. Okay. At first, we should all right, let me take it back. Look at what a pipeline is. All right. So as a general definition of pipeline, it follows a general definition of pipeline, all right, is a
Yeah, good
scheme.
evening, bro. Please, is it only me that cannot hear?
Check your this thing now. They say they can hear me. They can hear me. Check your connection. Toby, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Tell me, check your connection. All right. So pipeline is let me just give us an illustration before we go into the proper definition. All right. Is there's that line too. Let me use this. Let's say a stream, right? Let me take a typical example of a normal pipe. Or let me look for an object here. Will this be okay? Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, it did not spoil the whole thing. Okay, better. Let me copy and paste. Arrange send to back. Great. Copy and paste. Delete this. Oh, undo, undo. Arrange send to back. Okay. So copy and paste. Send to back. Paste. Send to back. So I want to say the audio was talking from earpiece. I can hear you now. Okay. So copy. Paste. Order. Paste. Paste. All right. So we are assuming that this is a long pipe. This is a pipe. All right. So now let's say each of these is a pipe. From here, this, this, this. All right. So each of these is a pipe. So these pipes are connected together. When different pipes are connected together, they form a pipeline. So when different pipes are connected together, they form what we call a pipeline. So they form what we call a pipeline, right? Now, these pipes, they have their own functionality. They have their own functionality, all right? So these pipes, they are termed as, we can call them as stages, right? We can equally term these pipes, this is a stage. Let's call that a stage. These could be termed as stages, all right? Stage one. This is a stage. That's a stage. Sorry. And that is a stage. Guys, take note of this illustration. I started off with a single pipe, all right? This is a pipe. This, as you see here, these are pipes. When you join smaller pipes together, they form a pipeline, all right? A pipeline, okay? Now, each of these pipes, we could term them as what? Stages. Stage A, stage B, stage C, stage D, just like that. So these are stages, right? Great. So now, what then is a pipeline? So this is the illustration, all right? So let's look for a proper definition online. What is a pipeline? Let's look for a general definition of a pipeline, all right? It is a long pipe. Guys, watch you, listen, oh. It's a long pipe, typically underground, for conveying oil, gas, etc. All right? Now, in computing, a pipeline is a sequence of specialized modules used for pipelining. Still in computing, design or execute using the technique of pipelining. Now let's now narrow our definition of a pipeline. What is pipeline in DevOps? Guys, listen to what is pipeline in DevOps? A DevOps pipeline is a set of automated processes and tools that allows both developers and operations professionals to work cohesively to build and deploy code to a production environment. Now, come back here. So these things you're seeing, these are pipes. These pipes are stages. These stages, they perform specific roles. They perform specific roles. Maybe this stage is doing code integration. This next stage is building the code. This next stage is testing the code. This next stage is scanning the code. This next stage is deploying the code. I don't know if you're following with me. Now, let's look for a proper image. I can see an image here. Let's look at this image. Let me look at that image. Now let me copy this image. Copy image. Bring it to our board. Paste it. Now, here's the image. You can see our illustration. Look at our illustration followed by what we saw on the internet. These are chunks of pipe. Commit is a pipe. Build is a pipe. Unit test is a pipe. Merge to trunk is a pipe. Integration test is a pipe. Staging is a pipe. Regression test is a pipe. Deploy is a pipe. When you bring all of these pipes together, they form a pipeline. And these pipes, they also act as stages. Commit is a stage. Build is a stage. Unit test is a stage. Merge is a stage. Integration is a stage. Staging is a stage. Regression is a stage. Deploy is a stage. This is what a pipeline is. Let me still look out for a proper definition. I'm still getting this. Let me look for something else. Okay, I think I'm getting something here. It's a set of practices, all right, tools, and automated processes. It's a set of automated processes used by DevOps teams to build and deploy applications. Let me open this. I think I should have a proper definition there. All right. Now look at that. A DevOps pipeline is a set of automated processes used by the DevOps team to build and deploy applications, to build and deploy code. Now, development pipeline stages. You have the plan, you have the code, you have the build stage, you have the test stage. Depending, all right? Now, you now have a release operation stage, a release, a deploy, operate, monitor, okay? All right. All right, so now let's look at the definition again. Let's look at the definition. Let me copy this guy. Copy. Maybe I'll share this link with you guys so that you take your time and read. All right. So I have that here. Let me share this link with you guys. Share. All right, great. All right. So my own definition, a DevOps pipeline is a set of practices and automated processes used by DevOps teams. All right. So when we say DevOps teams, you're talking about development and operations. All right. Used by development and operations teams to build and deploy code or application, to build and deploy applications. Full stop. The moment you indicate automated, you've defined it. All right. So all of that will be in the stage, right? Be in the stage. So this is what a pipeline is. Before we go ahead, is there any question, guys? Any query? All right, no query. Now, Jenkins pipeline. In Jenkins, there are two kinds of pipeline. One is a scripted pipeline, and the other is declarative pipeline. Guys, take note, they will always ask you this in an interview. How many types of pipeline do we have in Jenkins? You have two. One is scripted, the other is declarative. All right? You can use the two to implement what you want to implement, depending on how comfortable you are to either of the pipeline types. If you are comfortable with scripted pipeline type, you should use a scripted pipeline type. If you are comfortable with declarative pipeline type, you should use a declarative pipeline type. All right? Now, how do we know which one is declarative and which one is what? Scripted. Okay, great. So this is what I will do. This is what I will do. I'll go to Google. I'll type Jenkins pipeline. Pipeline. I'll open Jenkins documentation, right? Now, guys, take note of. But what we'll be doing in this class is a declarative pipeline. All right, I'll be showing us declarative pipeline. But it's good, it's better. You know what a scripted pipeline is. And a scripted pipeline, I didn't mention it. A scripted pipeline uses a programming language called Groovy. A scripted pipeline is written in Groovy. All right? It's written in what? Groovy. So if you know how to, it's a programming language. If you know how to write Groovy, you can write a scripted pipeline. All right? So scripted pipeline looks more complex than declarative. Declarative is straightforward and simple, very simple. You're going to see it. So let's check how the pipelines are. What's a pipeline? Jenkins pipeline, simply pipeline with a capital P, is a suite of plugins which supports implementing and integrating continuous delivery pipelines into Jenkins. That's the definition from Jenkins itself. No wahala. No wahala. Now, let me explain something. Now, look at this thing now. This chapter covers all recommended aspects of Jenkins pipeline functionality, including how to get started with pipeline, covers how to define a Jenkins pipeline. That is your pipeline through this. Second one, create and use a Jenkins file. Create and use a Jenkins file. Covers use case scenarios on how to craft and construct your Jenkins file. Work with branches and pull requests. Use Docker with pipeline. Covers how Jenkins can invoke Docker containers on agent nodes, blah, 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 blah. Now, see, there are two ways we can write a Jenkins pipeline. There are two ways we can write a Jenkins pipeline. One, see guys, I'm on Jenkins now, right? If I click on new item, I'll give it a name. Let's call it demo app. All right. Then I click on what? Pipeline. All right. Because I want to build a pipeline. I'll click pipeline. I'll say okay. So the moment I say okay, all right, now I can write my pipeline inside of Jenkins. This is what this guy means. All right. I can write my pipeline. Now, pipeline script from SCM. SCM means source control manager. Source control manager, which is either GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc., etc. But first, I'll show us, all right? Pipeline scripts. You can come here and write your pipeline. All right? You can come here and write your, I'll show us, don't worry. I'll show us how things are. You can come here and write your pipeline. Okay? Then start defining your stage. Okay? Stage. This is, let's say, simple. Git version. All right? And Git version. So that's the first stage. All right? Now, second stage. All right? You want to get the Docker version. Docker version. Don't worry, I'm just giving you an instance. All right? Shell. You say Docker version. All right? That's that stage. Next, the next stage. All right? Just like that till you get to wherever you're going to. All right? Maven version. All right? SH. Maven version. Right? So now, this is how you define if you want to use pipeline scripts. All right? If you want to use a pipeline script, this is how you use it, but you use it inside of Jenkins. However, all right? However, we won't be using these pipeline scripts. All right? Because we won't be using this pipeline script. Rather, we would be creating a pipeline script inside a file called Jenkins file. That's what these guys are saying here. A file called what? Jenkins file. Take note of the capitalization, right? This first J must be a capital J. Jenkins file. This is how Jenkins will understand that this is your pipeline file. This is where your pipeline is defined. So your pipeline is defined inside of this file called what? Jenkins file. And once you define all the stages, now, assuming now, I'll come to my terminal. See, I'll come to my terminal and I will create a file. Let's say this This is my GitHub. I'll say Jenkins file. Inside here now, I'll now start writing my pipeline stuff. All right. Let me just copy because of time. Let me copy what I did here. Just copy all of these things. Copy. And paste. Immediately I'm done writing my words, pipeline. All right. My pipeline, my scripts in my pipeline file. I will escape. I will save and quit. I'll now what? Do a git what? Push. I'll push this file to my SCM, source control manager, which is GitHub. So it is from GitHub. I'll have what that file. So I'll be calling that file from GitHub. Okay. So we won't be using this inline scripts, this inbuilt pipeline scripts. What we'll be using is what? Pipeline script from what? SCM. So if I click this guy, this has changed. You can see now. The setting has changed. Now it will tell me that I should select my SCM kind. The type of SCM I'm using what? Git. I'll click on Git. Now things are coming up. Where is my GitHub repository? I will specify my GitHub repository. Let me take one of our repositories. Okay. I'm coming, guys. New. Sign in. Class. This. What was my password set? I'm coming. I always this password. I don't need to worry. All right, let me forgot this password. I come class demo 247@gmail.com. Where's the captcha now? This is it. I'm coming, guys. Why did I forget that password? Why am I forgetting this password? And send. Everything is down, man. Everything is down. All right, let me do something. Let me copy a URL. I will include this part. Let me show you something. This is my own account. Actions. This is my own account. All right. So this is my own repository. Okay, let's say let me look for a repository that has a Jenkins file. Let me just show us a typical example. Terraform. I have a Jenkins file. AWS. And EKS. That's my Jenkins file. Azure. Okay, it's not here. Let's go back. Kubernetes. No. Let me go back. Repositories. All right. Jenkins Terraform Infra. All right, great. So you can see your source control must have a file called Jenkins file. So it's this, in this file, you're going to define your stages. So if I open this file, you should see the stages that I define. All right. So this is just to deploy this is for Terraform. Okay. I'm automating deployment of infrastructure, Terraform infrastructure, all right, to the cloud using what? Jenkins and Terraform. Okay. So this is a typical something. So this is what you do. You go back, and after you've created the file here, you copy the URL. If you're using SSH or whatever, copy this guy. Okay, I promise to show us SSH. Great. Okay. So now this is my own account, right? This is my own account. So I'll show us SSH now. So go to this guy and paste this guy here. All right. That's my own account too. Now credential, I don't have any credential, but you must add a credential. So it's supposed to throw an error. No, it's using, okay, I see. These guys are connected already. All right. So you select your credential. That's all. Then you scroll down. Below here, you see your script part. Where is your script part? Your script part is a Jenkins file. You don't touch anything here. Allow it as it is. You click on apply and you click on what? Save. All right. So if I build this guy now, you see different stages. Okay. Now my pipeline is building. It has failed. All right. We won't go further. All right. This is this connection problem. Right. I will stop it there. We won't go further. So I'm just showing you the difference between what? When you use a pipeline script and when you use what? A pipeline script from what? SCM, right? SCM. Remind me, let me show us this SSH thing. Great. Now, yeah, this is right. So, Jenkins pipeline uses what? Scripted and what? Declarative. So let's see how a scripted and declarative pipeline is, how they are being defined. All right. Now we were on what? Jenkins file. We've shown us what the Jenkins file is. Now, declarative versus scripted pipeline syntax. Every declarative pipeline starts with, let me show you the syntax. Syntax should be below here. Now, this is a declarative pipeline. This is a declarative pipeline. The beginning of this has to be in your head. All right. So for a declarative pipeline, this is your Jenkins file. All of this will go inside of this Jenkins file. You start the pipeline with the pipeline, the keyword pipeline, right? Pipeline, you open your brace. Now inside your brace, you define your agent. So if you say agent any means that these stages should run on any of the agents. All right. So Jenkins will provide you with those agents. You don't need to bother, but just define it. Right. So your agent could be your EC2 instances. Okay. Could be your cluster. So in your cluster, you have worker nodes, right? So in your worker node, those are your worker nodes, they are agents. So you say what? Run on any agent. That's what this guy means. So you can also define some specific agents. You can say agent Docker, agent Maven, agent this, agent that. But to be on the safer side, we always say what? Agent any. All right, great. Now, the stages. After pipeline, the next line is agent any. After agent any, the next is what? Stages. However, you can also define environment variables between agent any and stages. So in between agent any and stages, right? Even so, you can also define okay, you can define environment variables within the stages, within the stage. Now let's come down now. Now, after agent any, you have what? Stages. You open your brace. After stages, you now start defining all your stages. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, etc., 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 etc. All right? So this is how a declarative pipeline is. Now, let me scroll. Then let's look at scripted pipeline. A scripted pipeline is more like declarative, but the only difference is this guy. A scripted pipeline does not use agents any. Rather, it starts with what? The keyword node. Let me come back to my blackboard. A scripted pipeline starts with the keyword what? Node. It starts with the keyword node. Take notes. That's the characteristics of what's scripted. Now, a declarative pipeline. A declarative pipeline starts with the keyword pipeline. That's the difference between what? A scripted pipeline and a declarative pipeline. A scripted pipeline does not have the keyword agent any. All right, it doesn't use that. So it's just don't go any further. Once you are asked what's the difference between a scripted pipeline and a declarative pipeline, you tell them that a scripted pipeline has the keyword node. It starts with node, while a declarative pipeline starts with the keyword pipeline. You've answered that question. You've answered that question. All right, great. So let's come back here. So this is a scripted pipeline. I think that's all. That's all, guys. This is declarative. All right. So let's start something meaningful. Let's make something what? Meaningful. Now, to do something meaningful, let me show us briefly from the pipeline scripts. Paste. Okay, I don't have that again. Let me just show us briefly. Come over here. Where's Jenkins? Cuts that. All right. So I'll copy this thing that just let me rewrite it. There's no need of copying it. Let me rewrite it so it becomes part of you. So now I'm using declarative pipeline. So declarative, it starts with what? The keyword pipeline. Pipeline, open brace, define your agent. Agent what? Any. You come down, define what? Stages. Is you open your brace, you press enter. Now you start defining your stage. The first stage is a function, a single quote, all right? Quotes. Now, what this stage will be, I want to get the version of Git. Git what? Version, all right? So this guy will be, you open a brace for it, you press enter, right? So you run, because it's a Linux command, it's a Linux machine, right? It's a Linux, you're going to run it on a Linux machine. So you're going to use what? Shell. So sh means what? Shell. So let's say I want to get the Git version, say Git version. So what I'm running here is a command. This, what I'm running on line 5 is a command, all right? It's simply a command. So for I also need to set the first stage. Let me say this other stage should be get environment variables, all right? Get environment variables. Come down. I'll say shell, single quotes. I'll say print env, all right? So I'm through with this stage. This stage is gone. The next stage, this stage is gone. So I'll come down, I'll say the next stage. The next stage is get I can say Docker version, all right? Open brace. I'll say sh, all right? Docker version, okay? This stage is gone. Next stage is that I'll say Maven version, okay? I'll open it up. I'll say sh, and I'll say Maven version. I think we are through. So what I'll do, I'll now do what? Apply and save. So if I run this build now, run this application, let's see what happens. So I'm getting an error because we don't have those things there. You can see we don't have them. So I'll go and install Git stage. What is it saying? Unknown stage section. Steps in the stage must be in steps block. Wait, what is it saying? Stages. Oh, steps. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Steps. Okay. Steps. Sorry, guys. Okay. So we need to make some correction. So go back to our pipeline configure. All right. So we have to put them in steps. It's supposed to be steps. That was I was missing something. So stage, enter, then steps. All right. So these are the steps you're going to define in that stage. You have to indent it, guys. These are let's look at it again. Steps. All right. So these are the steps. All right. You can have multiple steps. You're going to define, close the step, then close the stage. So I've closed this step. I've also what? Close this stage. I'll do similar thing here as well. I'll say steps. All right. So this guy will be in a step. Then I'll close it. So that's a step, right? So the same thing is here, steps, all right? Then I'm going to close it, all right? Then finally, we have here steps, all right? Then I'll close it, step. So that's it. So this is the syntax, all right? Stage, in a stage, you have steps. In steps, you have the step actually, all right? So let's apply and save. Now let's build this guy now. Let's build. Let's see what happens. So now this is the actual pipeline. So this is how a pipeline is. So let's check. You can see, guys, you see what's happening now. All right. So now in here, we are getting what? Our environment variables. We are getting our Git version. We are having an error because there is no word Docker. We're also having an error because there's no what? There's no Maven. Let's check. Let's check. So I'll click on this to click me towards console outputs. All right, the build status. So this X means the build status, right? I'll click on the build status. All right, take me to the console output. So the first stage, which is what? Print environment variables, is printing me all the environment variables. All right, these are all the environment variables. Then the next stage is git version. So I have what? Git version 2.40.1. The next stage is what? Docker version. So it's trying to check command not found. All right, the same thing, because this stage failed, it will tell you that it will skip this stage. All right, so now let's go to our Jenkins node, our Jenkins machine. Connect. Let me connect to this Jenkins machine. Copy. Go here. Let me connect to this Jenkins machine. Let me connect to this Jenkins machine. So I'm connected to this Jenkins machine, so you can see, if I say I don't have Docker, so I have to install Docker. So yum install Docker. Then I don't have Maven. I also need to install Maven. All right. So guys, watch you. I just need to get the Docker version. So what's the appropriate command? Docker. Okay, this is the appropriate command. Docker version. So let me go back to my Jenkins app, demo app, configure. Let's check our scripts. Docker. Okay, I'm correct now. Now let's still go back. Let's install Maven. So I'll say yum install Maven -y. All right. So, all right, great. Okay. So what else? Let's start Docker. Systemctl start Docker dot service. So Docker is started. Now let's go and run our pipeline again. Let's come back to our pipeline. All right. So Maven version. Let me check. How do I get Maven version? So it's like MVN version. Okay, it's the MVN dash V. Okay, so it's MVN dash V. So MVN dash V will give me what? The Maven version. So MVN dash V. All right. So everything is fine now. So I'll apply and save. So now I'll build again. Click on build. Has it build? 4. What's it happen? Let's check why is it failing. Why did it fail? This is Docker version. Okay, now it's saying what? Getting permission denied, right? Permission denied. So Jenkins cannot write. Guys, let's look. Oh, Jenkins cannot write into this file. This file does not belong to Jenkins. This file does not belong to Jenkins. This var run docker.socket is a Docker file. It's Docker, that is Docker user. Now, whenever you install Docker, right, Docker creates, the installation creates a user, etc passwd grep Docker. There's a group, sorry, there's a Docker group. Group. Now there's a Docker group. It creates a group called what? Docker. All right. So now Jenkins is trying to write into the files that belong to this group, to the Docker group. So once Jenkins is trying to do that, it will always show you what? Permission denied. And the only way to permit Jenkins to write into files that are owned by Docker is by making Jenkins a member. You're going to make Jenkins a member of the group Docker. Then Jenkins will be able to write on Docker files, right? Files owned by Docker. Guys, do we understand? We are having this permission denied because Jenkins is trying to write into files that are owned by Docker group. It doesn't have the permission. So for Jenkins to have the permission, you must grant Jenkins that permission by adding Jenkins a member of the group Docker. So let's do that so that we can go past this error. So I'll say what? User mode. Remember, guys, don't forget dash small a, capital G. All right. The group name is Docker. I'll be the username first. Jenkins, then the group name. All right, now group name first. Docker, then Jenkins. Now, what this guy has done is I'm adding Jenkins as a member to the group Docker. So if I recall this command, cat/etc/group grep Docker, you see that Jenkins is now a member of the group Docker. So let's just run bash to rewrite. So if I come back here now and run this script, this pipeline, we should go past that error. Let's see, we are still having that error. Still having, what's it saying? It's having permission denied. All right, it will take some time. It will sync, it will soon sync. Let me exit. Let's exit. It will take some time to sync because all I know that Jenkins is now a member of the group Docker. Cat etc group to take some time. Grep Docker. All right, it's a member. Now let's check again. Let's rerun it again. It will take some time to sync. 6. Let me bash. It will take some time to sync. All right, so let me try this again. Try it again. So let's see. Let's see what happens. It's still failing. So I'll restart the server. All right, it's not taking that effect. So this is what I will do. I'll go to my EC2 instance, this Jenkins server. Let me see if I can reboot it from here. So sudo reboot -f. So I'm rebooting this machine. So this -f means forcefully shut down, right? You know, when you do normal reboot will take time to go down, then to now start coming up. But if I put -f will just jump one hand to shut down, boom, shut it down, then now start bringing it up. Okay, so let's wait for that guy to come up. Let's wait for it to come up. Let's wait for it to come up. All right. So let's try to go inside again. All right, so we are back. Let's see. Refresh. So this guy is restarting as well. 7 is restarting. All right, so our Jenkins file is restarting. Admin 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's build this guy again and see what happens. Let's build. It doesn't build. I need to check somewhere. It doesn't build. I need to check somewhere. We need to check somewhere. All right, so we are having this challenge. Let's check. 1 second. All right, so this is what it's saying, that the Docker daemon is not running, all right, because we started the machine. So let's start the Docker daemon. So sudo systemctl restart docker.service. Right? So this is how you get to know why your pipeline is breaking. So these are small troubleshooting tips. So I had to go through what to the console output to check why is my pipeline breaking. All right. So it's telling me that so this is the cause cannot connect to Docker daemon because the daemon is not running. So I need to start the daemon. Okay. So I have started the daemon. So let me enable the daemon. Sudo systemctl enable docker.service. So I've enabled the daemon, all right? So sudo systemctl status docker.service. So Docker is running. So if I come back here now, come here and start it again. So I think we should be fine now. Build this pipeline. You can see now, our pipeline is now green. Everything is now green. We've gotten the environment variables. We've gotten the Git version. We've gotten the Docker version. We've also gotten what? The Maven version. So these are stages, all right? So Git version is a stage. Git environment variable is a stage. Git version is a stage. Docker version is a stage. Maven version is a stage. They also act as what? Pipes. Environment variable is a pipe. Git version is a pipe. Docker version is a pipe. Maven version is a pipe. All of these forms what we call what? A pipeline. A pipeline. That is the illustration here. That is the illustration given here. All right. So this is just an introduction towards pipeline. Remember, when you're using Jenkins with Docker, you must add Jenkins as a member to the Docker group. All right. So without that, Jenkins will not work. Jenkins and Docker will not work until you give permission to Jenkins user. All right. Okay. To write into Docker files, right? Docker own files, right? So that is that. So this is how, let's go back to configure. If I'm using what? Pipeline scripts. Okay. If I'm using what? A pipeline script. Okay. I'm using a pipeline script. Okay. So guys, that's it. So now, to wrap this session up, I'm going to show us how to create an SSH, link SSH between your Jenkins and your what? Your GitHub. All right. So I won't be using what? These pipeline scripts. Rather, I'll be using something else. Right. So let me just copy this script. Copy this script. Copy it. Okay. Now come to my GitHub. So my GitHub, I'll create a new what's it called? A new repository. Go to repository, new repository. Let me call it Quart1, right? Now Quart1. It's a public repository. I don't need to add a README file. Create repository, right? Coming guys. Okay. So add a README file. So create. All right. So this is the repository, right? Quart1. So add a file. Add a file called what? Jenkins file. Jenkins file. So come over here and paste that content. So this is my Jenkins file, right? These are my stages. I'll click on what? Commit changes. Right? So I want to build my application. So what I will now do is I'll go back to my repository. Okay. So I'll copy SSH. This is my repository. I'll copy it, come to Jenkins. I'll create a new pipeline. I'll say new item, Quart1 pipeline. Click on what? Pipeline. Click on OK. All right. So I'll scroll to the bottom. All right. This is what I have. Come here. Select what? Pipeline script from SCM. All right. So SCM is Git. Then the repository is, that's my repository. So credentials, I don't have the right credential, right? This thing, I don't know why this thing is, I don't know why this thing they work. It's not supposed to work. I don't know why it's working. So let's see what happens. This is for Lavender class demo 24. All right. Now the branch I'm building. Now, see, branches to build. The branch here is not master, rather is main. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll rename this branch. So I'll go to branch, come to branch. I'll click on this icon, rename it to what? Master. All right. So rename. So in production, you don't use main, you always use master, right? As the master branch. So I'll change it to what? Master branch. So if I come back here, so what we now have here is what? Master instead of what? Main. That's been renamed. Okay. So I'll come to so the branch to build is master, right? Repository browser, blah, blah, blah. Then the script part is what? Jenkins file. So that's fine. So I'll click on what? Apply. Then I'll click on save. So see you. Let me click on build now. Click on build now. Let's look at the error that will come. So it's trying to build. All right. So it's doing a GitHub, an SCM checkout. So this thing built successfully. You see what happened? So now the first thing to do a declarative checkout SCM. A checkout SCM means I'm building from an SCM, which is a source control manager. All right. I'm building from source control manager. All right. And it has picked that my Jenkins file. That's picked the content. So if we go into the console output, you can see that. So this is the checkout stage. Checkout stage was up till git credential up to here. Okay. And the first stage is print environment variables. So these are all the environment variables. Second stage is get git version. Third stage is Docker version. Then the last stage is Maven version and etc. The build was successful. So if you see finished success, it was successful. If you see failed, you see finish failed, it means there was a failure. All right. So you have seen how we integrated this guy, but I'm checking something. This my SSH key, this Jenkins SSH key is somewhere. I don't know why it's giving me that access. It's not supposed to give me that access. So now this was what I did that day that this SSH started working. So what I did was I go to dashboard, and you remember the process of creating the credential. All right. So when you created your credential, let me duplicate this page. Duplicate. Manage Jenkins. Go to credentials. Credentials. You global credential, and you add a credential. So the kind of credential you're doing is what? SSH username with password. Sorry, with private key. So this is the credential you're creating, right? Which we created, all right? Which we created. Great, okay? Which we actually created. Perfect. So after creating this guy now, I'm supposed to come to Manage Jenkins, then go to Security, all right? Now, below security, there is somewhere down here, Git host key verification configuration. So I'm supposed to come here and change this side. By default, you will see accept first connection. Let me try this and see something. So this pipeline will fail. Let me try that pipeline again. Let's go to dashboard. My pipeline is cohort 1. Let me try to build it again. You can see it has failed, right? It has failed because of the SSH connection. So let me check. Why did it fail? Open the console. See what it's saying now. plugins, blah, 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 could not, unsupported option, accept new, unsupported option, accept new. What do we do here? Come here, security, accept first connection, all right? So it's saying what? Accept new, could not read from remote repository. It could not read. Now, please make sure you have the correct access rights and the repository exists. Finish what? Finish as what? Failure. So I'm having this problem because of authentication. So my Jenkins is trying to authenticate with the SSH key, but the method I'm using, the Git host key verification is wrong. So I have to change it to what? Known host file. Always change it to known host file. So this was what we didn't do that day. That's why we could not authenticate successfully between Jenkins and GitHub. Every other thing was correct, but this was the only part that we could not get. So apply and save. So if I come back to here and try to build this stuff again, build now, let's see what happens. So you can see that our build is now going because we have a proper authentication. All right? We have a proper authentication. So this is the beauty of Jenkins. All right? This is the beauty of Jenkins. Before we go ahead, is there any question, guys? Is there any query?
Quick question, Frank. So
Yeah.
when you made the modification to that user to add him to was it Docker group?
Okay.
So so the only way that change could have been effective was for us to reboot the system.
Reboot the system. Most time it will take some time. All right.
Okay.
If you can wait, if you don't want to wait, just reboot the system.
Okay.
And just reboot. That's everything. You know how you reboot. I try to use that your method now. That your method bash. You know work.
It should be my method. Don't even get the method.
And you will tell us now. So I tried to use bash. It did not work to reread the file system. So it did not work. So I had to reboot it.
Okay.
Yeah. So any other query? Okay. So since there's no other query, so tomorrow, when we come tomorrow, we just start real business of, all right, we just start deploying real applications, all right, create real application, Dockerize the application, and push the application, the image, the Dockerized image to Docker Hub and AWS ECR. Okay, so tomorrow is going to be a fun day for us guys. It's going to be very fun. So we shall start seeing the beauty of the DevOps. All right, we should start seeing the beauty of DevOps. So so what we've done so far, if you can see, if I go to dashboard, new item. So what we've done is just a pipeline. Okay, it's just a pipeline. So when we shall take it to production level, we won't be creating pipeline. Rather, we will be creating what we call a multi-branch, right? A multi-branch pipeline, right? And if you want to take it at a pro level, will now go into what? Organization folder. We shall show us all of these sheet guys, all right? We'll show us all of these key, all of these sheets, all right? So just follow us bomber to bomber. As I drop this other one, go through them, make sure say you sabi am, because the only thing that will make you stand out as a DevOps, you can stand on your own, is your ability to write your own pipeline, to write pipeline from scratch. You see, when you get into many interviews, they will always ask, can you build a pipeline from scratch? All right, not a pipeline someone has built already and you're working on managing a pipeline which someone has built is very simple. You're not doing anything. You just click, because they've done the whole connectivity for you. All right, you just like come and eat. But now you are learning, you know how to write the pipeline, you know how to do the whole connectivity, the whole connection, right? You've seen how we make the SSH connection. That's at one level. But now there's another style of SSH connection, which we shall do when we get to what? GitHub organization, which is organization what? Folder, right? When we get there, maybe by Sunday, we shall look into this, right? Tomorrow, we shall look into what? Multi-branch pipeline. When you have multiple pipeline, right? Multi-pipeline, building multiple branches. Now, this other pipeline, the difference between pipeline and multi-branch pipeline is that pipeline builds a single branch of a repository, but multi-branch builds multiple branches. You can build master branch, you can build DevOps branch. Depending on the branches that you have, it will build all those branches. So that's why it is called a multi-branch pipeline. All right. So when we come tomorrow, we shall see what a multi-branch pipeline is all about. Until then, I'll say a good night and a bye-bye.
Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, man.
Good night.
Yeah.